If she gets elected, she's under investigation with the FBI right now. If she gets elected, her first 100 days, instead of setting an agenda, she might be going back and forth between the White House and the courthouse. We need to stop that.
That was Jeb Bush last night at the Fox Business debate. The GOP debate was a highly watched thing, no doubt. There's another one pending. And one of the people who will be at the dais is our next guest, Bret Baier from the Fox News Channel. Hello, Bret.
Hey, good morning.
All right, so look, I mean, I think that there's a couple of storylines here, but let's set aside for a moment the GOP debate, because I want to ask you this other thing. It seems to me that when you look at the Democratic side of the equation, the story that is going underreported, that is very much, I think of interest to people, is the fact that Hillary's campaign seems to be an absolute free fall right now.
No, you're right. The polls have closed in Iowa, New Hampshire, and nationally. It seems like all the momentum, all the motivation in the base of the Democratic Party is on Bernie Sanders' side. And it is clear. The one thing that people don't remember, I don't think, is on the Democratic side in Iowa, the caucuses are run differently. So if you don't get to a threshold in a precinct, all of those people can go to whichever side they want to. So Martin O'Malley, who is at about 4 or 5%, I think, anybody who's supporting him probably is not going to be able to count towards him. And then you're going to go between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And literally they will physically walk to that group in the firehouse or the schoolhouse. The difference between them in the polls is about 2%. I think Martin O'Malley's at 5 or 6%. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that what do you think it's drawing? Is it the fact that they like Bernie Sanders? Is it the fact they're worried about all of these FBI investigations one hears is underway? What is it that's causing her to have such a precipitous drop?
Well, first of all, I don't think the Democrats overall are worried about the FBI investigation. Maybe in the back of their minds they are. I think Republicans are more focused on it and interested to see what the FBI does, even if the Department of Justice doesn't move forward with the recommendation, if the FBI comes forward. But I think Democrats, just like on the Republican side, I think that this election authenticity is selling. And if there's anybody who's really authentic, it's Bernie Sanders. And you look at those crowds, you look at the excitement, he's got it. I mean, I talked to one Democratic operative the other day who said, if he came out and Elizabeth Warren was at his side and said that they were going to run as a ticket, this thing might be over.
Bret, would you say that Hillary Clinton is still inevitable?
No, I don't think that at all. I think we are starting to see what we saw in 2008, and that is a shift. Now, can she, of course, come back? Can she win one of the two, Iowa or New Hampshire? Can she, in the long term, outrun Bernie Sanders? Yes, that is all true. But I think there are real sharks in the water for the Clinton campaign.
Well, let's talk about the Republican side for a minute. This is essentially the Wild West, in my opinion. I mean, this has been such an unpredictable and fluid election cycle that's seen the quick rise and fall of Governor Scott Walker, who has seen someone like Donald Trump, who nobody predicted to be rising as high as he is and heading the top of the polls. Can you just speak to that unpredictability and how, if in your opinion, this is different than previous election cycles?
Oh, it's definitely different. I don't think any of us have seen an election like this. No one predicted that Donald Trump first would get in and then would be where he is now. I think he had a good night last night. It was the most vigorous he had been, Donald Trump. I think Ted Cruz had a good night. He took some blows in some of those exchanges, but came on top on some of them. I think Marco Rubio had a good night. I think you're starting to see the contours of a 3, maybe 4-person race with Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, maybe Chris Christie or Jeb Bush, depending on who the fourth person is. But it's starting to feel a little bit tighter.
Yeah, what kind of parameters are going to be in place for your debate, which will be, I guess, 1 week before the Iowa caucuses? Are you going to trim the herd a little more?
It's above my pay grade. I don't think it's officially been decided, but I bet we will probably have the same criteria as FBN did if I had to put money on it. I think, the feeling is then they had top 6 nationally, top 5 in Iowa and New Hampshire. And John Kasich made it in because he was 5th in New Hampshire. So that was 7 on the stage. I don't know if it'll stick or not, but I think that's where it's headed.
All right, and what? Any other things that jumped? I mean, to me, I think there were 2 stories. One, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. The gloves were off, and I agree with you in your assessment that it looks like really we have a top tier now, and everybody else is sort of also rans.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Cruz, as I said, made some real points. He's obviously comfortable in this environment. He's very good at debating, but I do think he took a shot when he had the New York values moment with Donald Trump. I think at the end of that, he didn't look great. And then at the end of the debate with the exchange with Rubio, where Rubio listed all these things that Ted Cruz has said or done or not done in the Senate, and Cruz said, "You've dumped the Oppo research on me," and Rubio said, "No, that's your record." I thought that was not a great exchange for him. But overall, he's clearly the center focus, Cruz is, and is likely on his way to a win in Iowa.
All right. Well, listen, fascinating stuff there, Bret. It's good to have you on the show this morning. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.